welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. On this episode, we are going to recap the big win against Pacific and us clinching a playoff spot. We're going to chat about the new club that's just been announced in Quebec and what it means for the Wanderers. And Derek's going to run us through his usual Tides corner. And of course, Mr. Finlayson's here with us too. So how's it going, lads?
Fantastic.
Pretty good, Anthony.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Gaviscon rant of the week.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I
Can't
can't wait.
wait.
It's all on you. I'm not getting involved this week. I'm trying to be chill, so keep my blood pressure down. So
I gotta be careful what I say. I'm accredited media now.
But but
well
are you?
yeah, welcome. So Derek's gonna be your because Derek's got so much time because he kind of skies off work quite a lot. He'd be able to hopefully do some of the pressers for us and some of the pre-match calls with Patrice. So, is there anything that anybody wants brought up in these things and get a question to the coach because we're not allowed to have people from the club on the podcast anymore? You can reach out to us and let us know, and Derek will have no hesitation in asking a question for you. So let's look back at the game on the weekend. I must say, this was probably one of the most professional performances I've seen a Wanderers team put in. It was a game that we needed to win. We kind of in the first half we were very in control, but we didn't put away our chances. The thing I really liked is that we didn't panic, and then we put them to the sword in the second half. So, kind of want to just get your thoughts on the game, and also maybe chip in on. Uh, we've kind of mentioned Sean Ryan the past couple of weeks here about how he's kind of come on leaps and bounds, but he was also named the Player of the Week this week for the entire league. So, maybe just give us a little touch on what he brought to the game too. So, Derek, do you want to start, or Dave, do you want to start?
I'll jump in since you said my name first. Yeah, I thought you were right. I thought we were in control the first half. I heard a few people describe it as a poor first half. I didn't think that at all. I thought we were
No.
very much in control, and you could see what we were trying to do, which was put those through balls in past their defense, and the timing or the weighting of those passes just wasn't quite right in the first half, and so it wasn't coming off. But like you said, we didn't panic. We adjusted, and by the second half, the weighting of the passes was correct, the timing, the release, everything, and so we were able to sort of put them to the sword. So yeah, I thought it was a very professional performance, start to finish.
Dave?
Yeah, comprehensive and professional. I never felt like that was in doubt from the first whistle. I never felt a hint of them attacking and causing us any trouble anywhere on the pitch. I thought our two center midfielders were phenomenal. Rhea just continues on this streak that he's on, and Derek is absolutely right. And I don't know if it was the weight of the pass. I think it was the timing of the runs with the timing of the pass was
Yeah.
just off because there was several very close offsides, like very close, that I was like, no way, Travis. We were yelling at Travis, the assistant referee. He couldn't hear us on the first side, but we were like, there was so close. And I thought we could have had two or three in that half quite easily.
One might argue that some of them were not actually offside,
One
but
might argue
yeah,
that
yeah,
if we had a screen to look at and help us.
I definitely missed having the game on in the corner there to kind of look back and that stuff.
yeah.
Like, kind of annoying that they're taking that away. Yeah, I could thought like Isaiah Johnson's goal was amazing. The finish was a finish of an accomplished striker, not a central midfielder. So yeah, I was really impressed with that. I was really happy that they gave Lorenzo the opportunity to take the penalty, and you could just see that kind of how happy he was. He doesn't seem to smile much, but when he do it's kind of great to see him really happy from. Is that his first ever goal for the Wanderers?
It was, yeah. And it was an interesting choice too. So I was kind of curious about that, whether that was sort of he has emerged as the best penalty taker in practice, and so he got the nod, or whether it was a sort of a strategic move to say he hasn't gotten a goal yet. Let's get that monkey off his back by giving him a chance to get a pen. But either way, obviously it worked. So yeah,
I would say that it's normally Coimbra that takes the penalties, isn't it?
Yep.
I say they probably have like a list of people who will step up and do it because like this was an important game and we were only 1-0 up at the time. So I'd imagine that they've done stuff in training. Like I'd be shocked if they're like, you kind of do that when you're 5-0 up. You know what I mean? Like you kind of just go like, here, you need to score your first goal. So I'd imagine that. I mean, like the guy can pass anything that crazy. So passing the ball into the net from like 12 yards is probably not that difficult for him. So yeah, so obviously we've clinched our playoff spot, which is amazing. It's like it's kind of feels like there's like a weight off our shoulders, and then York kind of had a bit of a banana skin themselves. Like yeah, they definitely they pulled the Wanderers and choked it, and so we still have an opportunity for tour. So and then like we've seen some of our injured players start to come back in as well, which was kind of nice. So yeah, overall, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. I just really hope Thiago is ready to go. Like I think he needs a run of games in this squad, and we need to get used to how playing with him again. We need to just get that rotation of the subs dialed in with him back because I think the last couple of games we've been asking, not really asking questions, just I guess the subs aren't obvious unless you're putting in JGL for one of those center midfielders or Rampy now for one of those center midfielders. So I want to see those three together again. I want to see Bai coming off the bench at like 65 to go in on that right wing for Vitor. And then I think the question for me is always going to be this back line. How are we going to do that? And does he see Mekadesh as taking So's spot now? I thought he had a strong game, but he wasn't really challenged. And do we see any other movement in that back line or any change of shape in that back line? I think those are two things to consider. I also had a look at, just because I'm not as much of a sadist as Derek, but I was reviewing all the games and strength of schedule, making up some numbers. Calgary actually has a hard run in, and they've got Ottawa this weekend. So maybe I hate to ask Ottawa to do us any favors, and I really don't want them to. I don't want them to get the first place, so I'm kind of like torn with this one. But that's a good opportunity for us, and we're just playing everyone but the top teams until the last game of the season. So we have an opportunity, I think, to grab 9 points, 3 games here. Now, again, we do have travel to Vancouver, so that'll be tough for us. But there's a huge opportunity now for us to take that third spot.
Yeah, I think Vancouver obviously is a potential banana skin game. They're going to be a team that's playing with the freedom of nothing to lose, and that's always a risk. That being said, I think they play us on the Sunday and then they play Whitecaps midweek, I think on the Wednesday for the Can Champ. So they're obviously, I mean, I shouldn't say obviously, but I would tend to think that they are going to play their stronger team against Whitecaps. And so we may see a fairly rotated squad on the Sunday. Yeah, Dave's crossing his fingers. You can't hear that, but so that may work in our favor. That may work in our favor too. And I agree with Dave. Get some injured players back. Bit of a concern again that Perlman went off, potentially hurt again. I think in the whole Mekadesh Sow debate, I agree with Dave that he wasn't heavily tested in that game. I think the one advantage he really has maybe over Karim is that Mekadesh maybe offers a bit more going forward. He's got more of a track record of goal scoring, so that may be a consideration as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a nice problem to have that we've got, Julian Dunn and Kareem kind of fighting for that spots back there. I think it's kind of nice. Yeah, the Vancouver thing, like I definitely like. I mean, if you're Martin Nash, this is your season, that game against Vancouver Whitecaps, right? So, I mean, why would you want to risk, he doesn't know owe anybody any favors either, right? So, you know, um, I would I would kind of be resting my best players, but hey, we'll see what happens.
And the absolutely wild thing there is they may end up with a CONCACAF spot regardless of the result. Because if Whitecaps
I
finish
I
high
love
enough in
that.
MLS, then the runner-up gets that CONCACAF spot. So you could see Vancouver FC as the worst team in the CPL, at least in league play, in CONCACAF Champions League next year, which is great for them because I mean, from a recruitment standpoint, from a player retention standpoint, that's huge, right? So
Yeah, I could just hope that the gods kind of align and that kind of that happens because I think it'd be absolutely amazing after the season they've had out there. I think Nashi's done a great job in turning things around there. Like the players look kind of up for it. You know, like the game against York, they were really strong, and I think he's organized them into a good unit. So yeah, we'll see what
And
happens.
those are watching those strikers in the highlights. Those guys are the kind that give us trouble. Like a little bit tricky but fast, and like you don't know what they're going to do. And so those are the ones where I find we've struggled a bit. The only thing they don't have is like that fox in the box guy that again like Babuli that just always pops up and scores a goal against us because no one's expecting him to be there. Anto, I'm just wondering what you thought about some of the stats from the Lorenzo and Isaiah in the midfield compared to our last game. I don't know if you had a chance to look at those.
Oh, I didn't.
Just like the tackle rate and the percentage of passing is incredible. And the amount of balls like into Sean Ray in that left half space again, and the big chances, like the creation, it was amazing. Like it's amazing we didn't put 6 goals in. Like it's not. We kind of know our finishing, but that like just when you read through the stats of that game, it is really unbelievable. And the winning balls in the air, like guys just winning balls all over the place. So I don't know what was up with Pacific. They
I
just looked off it compared to
I
usual.
I think they just had like such a they are coming off a really bad week too, right? I think
Yeah,
and they're also missing Marco Bustos as well. But it was it was a really tough week for them, and it kind of culminated in a pretty abject performance against us. But then I'm not taking away from us either because I thought we were up for it. As you said, like having Caligari back just shows you how much we miss him. He was just everywhere. He was awesome. And Sean Ray has just been a revelation. So, it's like Aaron nagging, I think, probably caused him to go back into the team. And I think we should take credit for Sean Ray having this end to the season that he's having. And I hope to God that people realize that it's us that is driving what happens at the club.
it's the power of the media, Anto.
yeah, I thought Aiden Daniels looked like the one Pacific player that was really kind of determined to win that game for obvious
Yep.
reasons. And the rest of them did look a little off. I don't know if you gained any insight from your impromptu post-game interviews with a few Pacific players. Down at five guys there at near. Not
Yeah.
even supposed to bring that up.
No, yeah, I obviously we were down having a beverage after the game celebrating, and somebody had seen Aiden over at Five Guys. I didn't really want to interrupt him because obviously, like, it's his downtime, and he's probably just like, for fuck's sake. Because I literally had only seen him a couple of weeks ago in Toronto. You must think I'm stalking him or something. But he came out, and he's such a nice guy. He came out and chatted, and like he loves it out there. Like he says it's a great place, but he obviously misses Halifax because he was here for quite a while, right? And obviously the club, he was in a kind of a similar situation when he played for Oklahoma City there. So I kind of, you're kind of stuck in the middle of it all because the club is trying to sell it. There's all the infighting with the city over it, and you kind of just feel for the players because all they want to do is just play football and win games, right? So yeah, he's such a nice guy. Um, I did want to just before we move on to the news coming out of Quebec, Johan Boy obviously stepped into this striker role. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on because we've obviously had Bahambula covering for Climate in there too, and I think they see Bahambula and Boy as almost the same player because just on separate wings. So that's why I think they played him up front. But what did you think?
No, they're not at all.
I know, right? But I just wanted to get your thought because, like, this might happen again down the road, coming into like we're gonna work out like striker also. What did you think of his performance?
Someone really has to talk to him about his diving. Like it's atrocious. Like me and Derek were actually together for the first 20 minutes of the game there, and we're just like, that's the fourth time he's fallen down. And like it wasn't even when the ball was close. Like he's falling down behind the play. I'm like, what are you even hoping to achieve here? So like fall down when it's a good opportunity to draw a penalty. Like his efforts there, he's got decent speed. I think he's actually a pretty good finisher from what I've seen. I just the one thing I did like about it is we were trying to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
which is we don't need him to hold the ball up like Tiago can. We need him to be the one running through. So that's why, to your point at the very beginning, Derek, like with that speed up front, those little balls through, that's the right strategy for us to try and play him through. So even though it wasn't coming off, it was still, you could see it. And you could see with him and Vitor crossing over and just I'm actually, now that you've said that, I just got really mad again about the offside call on Sean Rea where the ball was played and I watched him run by the last defender on the outside. And I was like, this is going to be a 2-on goalie. And then the flag went up. And I'm like, what? Like, he literally ran past the defender.
Yeah.
I was watching it. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up,
Yeah,
Anton.
yeah. I just thought like I'd make you angry. It's always fun to
Can
see.
I? Can that be the rant of the week? Let's talk
No,
about that.
no. Derek's been building on one here. I feel it.
All right, all right.
So we got news today. They've been teasing it like for a week now. I think the CPL with the new club in Quebec, FC Super de Quebec. Am I saying that right, Derek?
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's great. We've been begging forever since the league began to have a team in Quebec because it just felt like the league wasn't complete without having a club in that province because so many great players have come from there. And yeah, I was super excited to hear that they've kind of kept this super name, which was they were in the old CSL. Was that what it was called?
The
The old.
Canadian Soccer League in the early 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's a nice little nod that they've done there, and they're playing at a proper soccer specific stadium in Laval. It's like 5,500, 5,800. I think they just refurbished it, so I think that's a really good idea. That it's not a giant 20,000 seater stadium. They're keeping it like real. I think because obviously they're going to be up against the CF Montreal, so I think that's been very very smart. But yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on the. The club. There was talk that this might be replacing a franchise, but this looks like it's a 19, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So which is
Same stadium. They'll be at the same stadium the Rose de Montreal in the NSL play-in. So Stade Boreal. So it's already in use as a soccer stadium, as you said. Sounds like they've got sort of a mandate from some of the interviews that have been done so far. They've got a mandate to be to have all Quebec players. And they did say they were interpreting that pretty broadly. So I think it's anybody who spent a decent amount of time in Quebec as opposed to having to be born there and go back 5 generations or whatever. But a real mandate to develop and play and have a roster that's exclusively players who are connected to Quebec. They brought in, I think, their first hire was the fellow that was the technical director at CS Saint Laurent, who are one of the more successful um, semi-pro sides in Quebec, and so that's I think a good hire for them, and looks like they've got a good ownership group that have a background in sport and various other endeavors. So yeah,
I think that's the huge thing, actually, Derek, is like there was a wide group of them. There was a
yeah,
lot of people there. And when you read their bios, like these are some hitters, Anto. Like I don't think they're going to have a problem. And I bet they already have it done. So this is going to be interesting to see what they get for shirt sponsors. They've got some big hitters on the commercial sponsorship, guys with deep pockets. Like they're not going to be shortfalling this thing in the first couple of years. So if they have any modicum of success, I think that could very quickly rocket up the league to rival Wanderers as far as like attendance and commercial volume. Like I think those guys are going to hit it out of the park. The branding looks solid. Um, I like they brought that super back. It can remind us of the old days playing against was the Nova Scotia Clippers. Is that was our team? I used to have that white
playing
jersey.
at Beasley Field in Dartmouth.
Beasley Field, the mighty Beasley. Anyway, so yeah, this I'm so excited for them because I think that has been the best launch of a franchise. Like, and one of that the Northern Tribune article was just highlighting that too, where they've talked about things like Saskatoon, Windsor, stuff like that before the cake was even half baked.
yeah.
Right, this was like everything looks ready. Like it feels like they could go out and start selling shirts tomorrow. But anyway, we'll just see how that progresses.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And like it's obviously difficult when you have an MLS team in your vicinity. So I'm glad that they have really smart marketing people, as you mentioned, and like big hitters in behind it. And I hope that they don't try and price themselves out of the market and like just so I really hope. So Derek, like just an aside there, like for the is it the Roses that play in Montreal, Montreal Roses?
Yep.
Yeah. So what's the attendance has been like there for the air games?
Good question. I think that their attendance has been pretty decent, at least from the games I've seen. I've only really watched the Tides games. I haven't checked the league attendance overall. Do kind of feel like Laval's maybe far enough out from Montreal proper and has its own identity enough that they might be able to carve out kind of a niche for themselves, and especially where they're doing that big focus on homegrown and home developed players, gives them kind of a distinct identity that makes it easier to sell. Spells a bit of trouble for the Wanderers, as I think we were maybe talking about on text exchange earlier, because obviously we've got quite a few Quebec players in the roster and have relied fairly heavily on the talent pool in Quebec over the past several years to fill out our roster. And we've got a number of Quebec players in our roster that are out of contract at the end of the season, including, I believe, Jefferson Alphonse, Sean Rea, JGL's out of contract. I think Yesley's under option, so we could choose to keep him if we want, but I think it'll be Timoteo, I think, is out of contract. So you've got a number of players that for whom that like playing at home is going to be a very attractive proposition. And so, from a roster building standpoint, it's it spells a bit of trouble for us, I think.
It'd be
So
interesting. It'd be interesting to see though. 2 points on that. Like number one is we've also tried launching CPL teams in cities with no MLS, and they haven't been as like Langford, like Pacific is doing okay. Winnipeg's doing terrible, right? Like they're. I actually wonder if it's like the reverse psychology of having a Starbucks across from your local coffee shop. It raises everyone's sales volumes. So I wonder if there's actually an argument that the hardcore soccer people are going to support this as well as Impact, or maybe they haven't cared about MLS and this is a great opportunity for them. So and with those guys, I think guys like Rhea, TMG, they're going to stick around based on the success. So if we have a successful end to the year, that could really help us keep those guys. But there's a lot of good French players out there, so I don't think they're going to need to rate us too often.
I would say, going to Derek's point, I just like with Raya, for instance, like he's kind of had a very roller coaster of a season, right? Like I mean, like we kind of, he came here. I mentioned this before, where he came into the club and he was going to be our star. The club were ecstatic to get him, and then it never really took off from. Like obviously when he came in, it was late in the season, but then this year, like he's been kind of on the bench, blah 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 blah. Like he's pretty much going to be guaranteed to play every single minute probably for like this new club if he goes there. So that there is that kind of thing that we kind of I think hopefully that we're having conversations with the guys who are coming out of contract and we're going to be announcing that they're going to be staying because I'm sure that Derek and the club knew that this was coming in the pipeline. It's not like this is going to be brand new news to them. So I just think that for future like in the next couple of years, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us for roster building because we're going to have squad building. I don't, what am I saying? Roster, Jesus Christ. I just feel like it's going to be more difficult for us because, as Derek said, we have been raiding a lot of um, the kind of local clubs there for players. Like I mean, we brought through Zach Fernandez, Alphonse, all those kind of guys. Why would they want to come to Halifax now when they've got a club right on their doorstep? So I think it's going to probably us. We're going to have to start like, and obviously part of the club now is the under 21s or whatever that we've got going on. We're going to have to start looking at building proper soccer, uh, like football structure in the Maritimes for us to be able to tap into that market because I think we're going to not be able to rely on the Quebec market as much as we have been.
Part of it really was it feels like it took us almost a year to figure out what the right role for him was in this team. We had him playing all kinds of, basically it's kind of a de facto winger at times, and then it's finally when we kind of did the two tens behind the nine with him kind of playing that free role that it worked. And I think, I mean, this gets us into a bit of philosophical debate maybe that we don't want to have. There's systems coaches and there's non-systems coaches. And I think when you've got a player like Sean Rea, you can try to fit him into the system that you've already devised, or you can devise a system that gets the most out of a player like that. And I honestly feel like Sean Rea is a talented enough player that your system should be devised to get the most out of Sean Rea as opposed to trying to turn Sean Rea into something he's not. And I do feel a little bit like we spent the better part of a year trying to turn Sean Rea into something he isn't, rather than coming up with a system that worked for Sean Rea.
I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think that's too philosophical. We could all see that with our eyes, right? And like now he's playing in what's his natural position. He thrives in that kind of free role. So yeah. Anyway,
It
so
is. Sorry, just on that
yeah,
though,
yeah,
you have to build the rest of the spots around having that looseness with those two tens.
Yep.
So until we landed on this back five with the two sitting, we couldn't do it because we were too open. People were just burning through our midfield. So once we said, yeah, we can play with a back five or 3-3-4-3, whatever we're calling it, like that, that's when we knew that, hey, now we've unlocked Sean because he's free and he needs to track back sort of. And he actually won a ton of duels. Actually, that was another weird stat from that game. He won a lot of duels in that game. It's really good.
So
yeah.
I'm kind of curious where that system came from, because we kind of pulled it out mid-season, and it may be just like a complete coincidence, or it may be something, because last year when we saw Patrice move to kind of this three at the back stuff, you could tell what teams he'd been watching to come up with that system. And I think he was actually quite open about what teams he'd been watching. He'd been watching Dortmund, he'd been watching certain teams in Italy, and he'd spent some time with Whitecaps under Vanni Sartini, who also likes a three at the back. So that was very frank. And then we landed on the kind of the system mid-season. I'm just gonna point out again, it might be a complete coincidence, and this might be the hammer nail phenomenon, but uh, he's actually landed on a system that's pretty much the same system Wimbledon uses, and they did go to watch Wimbledon in their preseason in England. I'm just gonna
Oh,
say that might be a
okay.
coincidence, or maybe he saw something there he liked that he decided to borrow. So
Well, I wanted to kind of just chat a little bit about the Tides, Derek. They've come up with a great initiative. I think it's such I've said this numerous times, but I think that the marketing team there are like super, super smart. They play on Saturday, right? And
yeah,
they're going to show the Women's World Cup rugby final beforehand with Canada and England, on big screens, I guess, around the stadium, the back of the stadium or part of the stadium. And then they're going to obviously the Tides play then at 3 o'clock, and your ticket gets you into both. I think it's genius. I think women's Canadian rugby right now is like massive, and obviously with it being against England, it's going to draw another crowd. Like, because I'd rather, watch a game like that with 2 or 3 thousand people than to go watch it in a pub, right? So. I just wanted to kind of give them a heads up there, but they had a game on last weekend, 1-1, Derek. It was an away game, I think, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, so that was a great result for them, I think.
yeah, and against Toronto, one of the better teams in the league too. So it's they're still kind of grinding out. It's interesting because they seem to do well against the stronger teams in the league for the most part. They've done well against Montreal. They've done well against Toronto. They struggled a bit against Vancouver, in fairness, but you know, a 1-1 draw away to Toronto is nothing to sneeze at. They're at or near the top of the table right now. Toronto's goal came on a penalty. So we scored one in open play. They scored one on a penalty, and I thought it was a credible effort overall. So yeah, they continue to grind out the results, and agree. The marketing initiative to pair the game up with the rugby is great. They're going to have two screens apparently. I know that. I think at least one will be facing sort of the the splash zone, which is the kitchen end for those that go to Wanderers games. I don't know where the other will be situated. They're going to have the drink specials. They're going to have food available, all that stuff. So great, great marketing coup kind of thing. And, something that's been unfortunately really overlooked in Canada is this women's rugby team and the way they've moved to near the top of the world rankings. Very exciting, very fun team to watch. And they had to, crowdfund $1 million so that they could actually attend the World Cup, which is like an absolute indictment of how we fund sport in this country, because people will throw money at hockey at any level, and yet our one team that is competitive in a sport that's actually played around the world uh, is is screaming for funds. I mean, a team that's ranked in the top two in the world in a sport that is played globally, and they're having to crowdfund their way to a World Cup, and now they're in the final. So yeah,
Was that your Gaviscon rant?
that is my Gaviscon rant. My
Yeah,
Gaviscon
yeah.
rant is how we treat women's sport in this country. But like you said, the Tides have kind of flipped that on the head and turned it into sort of a marketing coup where they're saying, Halifax supports women's sports, get people out to watch the rugby, get people to watch out to watch the Tides. It's going to be a fun day. And for folks like my wife, for example, big rugby fan, somewhat like enjoys football, but not to the same degree. And so that's a big selling point for her to come out and get to the game on Saturday. And I suspect it's the same for a lot of other people that might not otherwise watch a Tides game. They're going to come out to watch the rugby, and they're going to stick around and watch the football. So
Love it. I think it's a great initiative. Yeah, I'll be probably watching from home. Yeah, it's with kids on Saturday, so I'll probably watch it. But I'm looking forward to it. Like, beating New Zealand in the semis was a massive, massive result for them. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much everything I thought we would go over, apart from uh, your thoughts on the big game on Friday. Um, there's a little thing of the Dublin Derby. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
looking forward to it. I'll point out that there was actually a Dublin Derby last weekend, which Anthony prefers to ignore because it was the Bohemians women and Shamrock Rovers women, and Shamrock Rovers were up 2-0, and Bohemians came back to earn a 2-2 draw. So excellent result there, and we have beaten the men all three times we played them this season. So looking forward to Bohemians maintaining their perfect record against Shamrock Rovers this season.
So have you released a jersey for each of those wins?
We should. So for those that don't follow Irish football, my club Bohemians are famous, perhaps a little notorious, for releasing a jersey for just about anything. And
Oh wow.
it is, I mean, they make nice jerseys, and it's actually brought a ton of revenue into the club. So it's been hugely successful. But there's probably a bit of well-deserved mockery for
You
jersey
think?
for just about anything. Yeah.
It's like
I'm looking forward to, well, I'm going to Dublin in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to see Bohemians play Schalke, and I'm anticipating a commemorative jersey for that friendly match as
it's
well.
like it's like Tomo spilled his Guinness at the pub. Let's make a fucking jersey to fucking commemorate it. It's like it's fucking crazy.
How come
Or
you guys haven't told the Wanderers about this initiative? Our 3-0 Pacific shirt? Come
I
on,
know.
let's do it.
I'd probably buy it if I could get it in my size.
Let's go.
So it was my own fault for being fat. So lads,
Co-branding opportunity there, because someone posted to the Discord the other day a meme where they took the sign outside Pacifico nightclub and they put Wanderers 3 Pacific O, and so you could get Pacifico nightclub as your sponsor on the Wanderers commemorative jersey for
oh,
beating
that's
Pacific.
amazing. I love that. That's incredible. Great work, whoever did that. Yeah, so maybe we could get Tallaght and Halifax to twin towns, and the Wanderers and Rovers could become like a little close-knit thing. Anyway, lads, thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. And
Folks, please. Right foot, please.